Have you ever cast an ink shield while playing Commander in the back of a Ford F-150 while you're driving down a mountain going 150 miles an hour? That's what it's like to listen to Bad at Magic podcast.
This is Bad at Magic. We're bad at magic, but we like getting better.
And we're bad at intros too, apparently. But listen, we have an Uwu RAR XD one tucked away under our belts just in case, a rainy day intro. But yes, lovely people, this week we are going to be talking about our New Year's resolutions for ourselves as Magic players, because we're always growing and changing in our experiences, especially when it comes to how we interact with others, how we interact with our decks, our play styles, our experiences, fun, goofy shenanigans such as that.
So I guess that begs the question: did you have New Year's resolutions from last year? Because I did.
I'm going to be extremely honest. I think I blacked out the entirety of this year, so I don't remember.
This has been the longest decade ever. I don't blame you.
Yeah, I feel like we're still in 2018.
My biggest New Year's resolution from last year was to cast a blue card.
Are you serious?
I'm like
That's
dead
real?
serious.
That's
yeah,
real.
Absolutely. Yeah. At 100%.
Well, you did it.
Yeah. I took a 30-minute 1,000-year storm turn. I think I've cast enough blue cards for a lifetime at this point.
I remember that too. Those were dark times. Those were dark and scary times.
that was a dark 30 minutes for all of us, including me.
It was great though. We got to riff and chat. Yes. It was great.
You got to hang out and vibe while I had a migraine thinking about how to actually do something with 1,000-year storm for 15.
Well, I feel like that's what happens when a big stompy green player like yourself wants to do the intricacies of blue spells, because when you want to do something intricate, you go, well, I want to do it big. So you do it intricately big, which is insane.
I was going to say when a big stompy green player wants to play blue, what are they going to do? They're going to play big stompy blue. And that naturally just either lends yourself to extra turns or 1,000-year storm. And I wasn't about to take extra turns. So here we are.
Honestly, a mood and a half. I think it's really funny that your past one was to play a blue spell. Because I play all colors. I have a 5-color deck.
I still don't. The only blue deck that I have right now is Celebrity Deathmatch.
I was about to say, you have blue in there. I know you do.
Yeah, but I have placed a bigger emphasis on blue in the deck compared to where the deck was at the beginning of the year. So I think that's that happy medium that I found. So I feel like I fulfilled the resolution by the end of the year. It just was a tumultuous journey to get here.
Yeah. I feel that because I have a very weird relationship with blue. I play blue. A lot of my decks have blue in it. I have Locust God. I have 5-color Sisay.
You have the chicken baby in Sisay.
Chicken baby. Took me a minute. I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah, I have Kira Great Glass Spinner, which is I like to describe as a floating blue rotisserie chicken in the sky. But in an embryo, so it's a baby. I do have that, which is it weird that I don't see that as me technically playing a blue spell? Because I don't play it. I just put it.
There's a nuance. I'm gonna give you that point on a technicality.
Thank you. That'd be so great if I just did that for the rest of the year for 2023, is instead of casting things, I'm like, well, technically I didn't cast anything because I put it into play. So
yeah, if we're talking about counter spells or anything like that, or rule of law technically gets around that, you're not casting it. So
I'm glad you mentioned counter spells. I don't like them. I don't like to play them. I've been getting a lot of interest from my chat on my stream about why I don't run counter spells. And I always say I don't like to run them because I don't like it when my stuff gets countered. So I don't want to counter somebody else's stuff. But at a certain point, logistically, it makes sense to counter things. To
be fair, a counter spell is definitely a piece of removal. It's removal on the stack rather than removal in play.
I suppose that's true.
And we've had this discussion, you want to play more removal at times or play more interaction. And it seems like That seems like an avenue that you could explore.
It's I don't know. Is it weird that you reframing it as removal makes me more inclined to play it?
Yeah.
Because
No, it's not weird.
you know how I feel, and I don't like to do like very heavy instant and sorcery things in terms of um like spell slingery stuff. I don't like to do it. Like especially I don't know. It's stuff like that just doesn't bring me joy. So I don't
So,
really
so
do
like, are
it.
you gonna try and build a Spellslinger deck next year?
I've brewed them on stream before, but here's the deal. I brew them with like a begrudging feeling in my soul. Sounds a little heavy. It
You're
is.
here for the content. You're here,
Yeah.
in the words of Marshawn Lynch, you're here so you don't get fined.
Yeah. It's like I build it because I've had some viewers recommend it and they're really excited about a new card or something and they get really excited. Like a really good example was like oh my gosh, Gearson from the Warhammer decks, which is like quote unquote like a lightning bolt tribal sort of thing. And I didn't really want to do that.
I would think that that's the one that you would want to build, to be honest.
No, I didn't. I was I a lot of people were excited about it, so I brewed it. And like that's the thing is like, as a content creator, especially when you focus a lot on brewing, you're definitely going to be
Hmm.
brewing a lot of things more often than not that don't really spark joy in you.
Yeah,
Um
you're
and
you're doing it for numbers and just to have a consistent schedule.
And also just to like not make it so me focused. Cause if I built the same thing over and over again, who the heck would want to watch that? That's boring.
Yeah,
But sometimes I notice that I get a little like tug in my chest again, like we've talked about like the Marie Kondo way of deck building and things that don't bring joy and tug. And I just didn't want to do it. So I want to like find a bit of a smoother transition into me brewing deck themes that don't particularly spark joy. I want to find the joy within it rather than being like, ah, shucks, we're doing Spell Slinger again.
like I look at Gearson in particular. Gearson is a burn deck that happens to be a Spellslinger deck,
Yeah,
and you like burn.
I do. I do.
So it's a matter of perspective, really.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, a commander deck is it's gonna check multiple boxes.
Yeah.
It's just that most players put an emphasis on a particular box and kind of like push the others underneath the rug. Like I mentioned, Gearson is a burn deck
Mm-hmm.
disguised as a spell slinger deck. My Primal Surge deck, it's all instants and spells and stuff like that. It's just
Mm-hmm.
disguised as a creature deck. I just happen to be flashing in all of the creatures or
Yeah.
cheating all of the creatures into play. It plays like a spell slinger deck. It just happens to be that instead of playing like Brainstorm or Cultivate and Kodama's Reach and stuff like that, I'm playing Wood Elves
Mm-hmm.
and Reclamation Sage and everything like that at instant speed. I think it's just a matter of perspective or selecting a particular couple of cards to
Mm-hmm.
curb an expectation. Or curb a stereotype that you might have towards a particular commander.
Yeah. Because I feel like there are moments where I look at a commander and I kind of tend to view it very narrowly, and it takes me a minute to kind of get sort of outside the bigger picture of things. Like I look at a commander, I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely like a burn commander or a
Hmm.
tokens commander or whatever. But like my Cadric deck, like it was in a precon where you were making like a lot of copies of legendary creatures and a lot of copies of legendary enchantments and
Yeah.
legendary equipment to get high value from that. But I was like, well, what if I did the least optimal choice and chose planeswalkers? And it turned it into a concept that normally I would probably not be into, and it made it into something I did want to do. So that does make sense. And in the same vein as counter spells too. Like if you view counter spells as removal, it makes me feel less icky.
Yeah. I'm the type of player, like, I am not one to enjoy a stack, but
Hmm.
I love playing Bears decks. And to some people, a Bears deck is a
Hmm.
stacks deck. It's just stacks attached to creatures.
Yes.
And that kind of leads me to like one of my New Year's resolutions for next year. It's play more instants and sorceries.
Yeah. You don't do that a lot.
Don't just pick an effect that's attached to a creature and play
Yeah.
the creature. Like play the instant, play the sorcery. Like instead of playing Skyclave Apparition,
Hmm.
like play more Swords to Plowshares or like
Hmm.
Cut Down or something like that. Like
Yeah. You're a big on a stick person, you know? You're
Yeah.
like, I want blank on a stick.
And see, like, I feel like you don't play a lot of creatures at all. And like, I know we were talking about this before we started recording. You're like,
Yeah.
no, that's not true.
I don't
No,
feel like it's
let the
true.
record show you don't play a lot of creatures.
What's the record? Where is the record?
The record is what I say right now.
That's you can't that, okay, that's not how things work in a court of law. You can't just be like what I say is fact. What are some examples? Like I play a lot of planeswalkers, but I don't do a lot of like instants and sorceries.
Planeswalkers aren't creatures unless they are animated by Sarkhan or Luxior.
Okay, that's fair.
Your Gitrog deck is very spell centric and land centric. You're
Mhm.
using land based combos that are enhanced by enchantments like Squandered Resources
Yeah.
to enable a large Ensanguinate or Torment of Hailfire.
Okay.
The most creature heavy Gitrog gets is like Lotus Cobra giving you an extra mana or two a turn. Like,
Well, Sisay's creature focused. Gotcha.
that's the
Sisay's creature
exceptions.
focused.
How many decks do you have built right now?
That is a dang good question. Currently I want to say it's like 6. I mean, let's
Okay, so you have
let's count
one
on my
out of
hand.
six. So 16.6% of your decks are
Okay,
creature decks.
let's count.
The
So we
other
have
83.4% are spell-based decks.
we have Kadric, Chandra, Alabu,
Super Friends artifacts.
artifact creatures though, but Gitrog,
Land
Elminster,
land
um,
big
Lo-
spell.
Locust God, and Sisay.
Locust God is wheels slash spells that happen to make creatures if Locust God is in play. I wouldn't call Locust God a creature deck.
I think the reason why I've tricked myself is a lot of the decks I make somehow make tokens in some fact. Like Kadric makes a ton of
Mm-hmm.
creature tokens, Locust God makes a ton of creature tokens, um, Elminster makes creature tokens. That's 3 decks of mine that make a lot of
Yeah.
tokens.
Even Gitrog kind of makes creature tokens because you have Field of the Dead,
I
and
do, I
you
do.
like you make pest tokens and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
You should build an honest to goodness green creature deck
Is
in
it weird?
2023.
Is it weird that when you say that, I actually felt a little like in my soul? I was like,
What?
it
I've been living a
discomfort,
lie this whole time.
discomfort. Like if I don't, it's just they need help. They
Do
need
they
protection.
though?
They do. They do. It's a good
I don't know.
marriage between the
I've made it.
two.
I've made a good brand. I've made a good living this whole time, like my entire career, playing Magic, playing Commander, of
It's so
like playing nothing but creatures.
I would feel so uncomfortable playing your Primal Surge deck. I feel like I'd be so
When we hang
uncomfortable.
out in Philly or
Yeah.
Minneapolis, like I'm just don't bring any decks that hold. We can bring Chandra. That's it. If I'm not there for some
Mhm.
reason, I will just send you Primal Surge in the mail to play that
Jesus.
whole weekend
I don't know why that makes me uncomfortable. I just
because it's a lot of foils and a lot of expensive
it wasn't
foils.
even that. It's the content of playing creatures, like only
Gotcha.
creatures, because that deck is only creatures and like one non-creature.
What if we found every effect that's on a spell, like an instant or sorcery or an
Uh-huh.
enchantment or whatever, and put it on a stick, like put it on a creature with a power and a toughness?
You
That's the
you
idea behind the deck.
you throw in a lurking predators and you've got yourself a deal.
This baby can fit so many creatures in it.
Slaps. This bad boy can fit so many permanents.
I mean, it's 99 permanents, but a sorcery ain't one.
Yep.
Um,
Physical discomfort, but I guess I don't play a lot of creatures. You play intense amount of creatures.
you know what?
Yeah.
Here's what you should do: build a Primal
Mhm.
Surge deck. Like just go all in. Rip the band-aid off and go all in and do it.
You know what? I'll make you a deal. I'll make you a deal. I will build
Yeah.
a Primal Surge deck, but the deck has to be greenless. Allow me to explain. Primal Surge is going to be the only green card in that deck.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm going to
Okay.
have no forests at all in the deck, but I'm going to have like ways to get green and generate green in the deck without
Like
playing forest.
Yavamaya is technically not a forest.
I was thinking more or less the what's that one new card that makes sapperling, like forest dryad tokens.
Awaken the Woods.
Is it? I thought it was that equipment that equipment gives plus XX
Yeah,
equal
so
to the
that's
forest.
like Titania's staff. There's a
Yeah.
sorcery from Brothers War called Awaken the Woods. It's
Yeah.
X and 2 green, create X green 1/1 Dryad creature tokens, which are forest.
Mhm.
So it's Dryad Arbor on an X spell.
Well, I was talking about Staff of Titania. And Staff of
Okay,
Titania, because it gives you XX until end of turn. Well, not until end of turn, but XX where X is number forest, so you control. And when it attacks, the equipped creature attacks, you create a 1/1 green forest dryad land creature token. So
sure.
that card allows me to run, like, get green mana without making green, which I kind of want to
Yeah.
see. I feel like that would be a way for me to enjoy it, is I put my own
Y-
little twist on
you
it.
could play something like Dryad or not Dryad Arbor. Like Dryad Arbor is technically colorless because it's a land
I
creature.
mean, technically.
Yeah, it's technicalities. Like you could play Yavimaya, Chromatic Lantern as another idea as well.
Uh-huh. That's true. Because I feel like if I do that, I'll enjoy it more.
There's also the most hype card ever, according to the commercial, Chromatic Ornery.
Ornery?
So it's a 7-drop artifact that taps for 5 colorless,
The
but it lets you
ornery.
spend mana as if
Yeah.
it was any color.
Okay. I thought you said chromatic ornery. And I was like, what are
Yeah,
you
that.
ornery about, dude? I don't like green.
So like, what would your commander be like? Like what would your other colors be? Would you go Simic, Bant, Naya?
It's so
Because like I feel like
uncomfortable.
Boros is your comfort zone.
Here's the deal. You mentioned all those things you mentioned. I don't know why green taints my enjoyment of things. Okay, taint is a strong word, but I find myself pulling back with intrigue and interest when you mention green. But you need to have green in the deck in order to work
Yeah,
that.
yeah. You can't
So
cast a spell without it.
I feel like, because Atraxa has green, but that's one counters. That's boring.
I would make the argument that at that point you're getting into like Sultai goods.
Yidris? Maybe Yidris? Yidris has green, right?
Yeah,
I could do Yidris.
dude.
Cascade.
Primal Surge Cascade is actually really
I
fun.
could I could do that, because that way I still get the enjoyment of free
Yeah.
things. And
At that point, you'd be playing Grixis Primal Surge.
I like Grixis. I have a Grixis deck. I can do Grixis.
That sounds weird.
It's
Like
weird. Let's do
I'm into it though. I'm so into it.
Yeah, I like that.
With the 40k Grixis Precon, like that was Grixis Cascade. Like you have a ton of new support pieces from that.
I do. And it was weird to pilot, because it was this weird amalgamation of Demon Tribal, but also
Mm-hmm.
Cascade. And there are some really good Cascade pieces too. I mean, if I wanted to just be absolutely disgusting, I could do like Maelstrom Wanderer or something.
Yeah,
Just go
I
crazy.
I don't want to get like super into the weeds, but like playing Primal Surge with black
Mm-hmm.
does put training wheels onto Primal Surge because of cards like Razaketh and
Yeah,
Sidisi, Undead Vizier, and Wishclaw
that's true.
Talisman,
Yeah.
and Burning Rune Demon, and the 3-drop, the guy that boasts to do demonic
Oh,
tutor.
yeah. His name is like Vargoth. I think
Yeah,
Vargoth.
yeah, Blood Sky Sire or something like that.
Yeah.
Black puts a bunch of training wheels on Primal Surge, so I
Mhm.
would like implore you to like keep those out, but at the same time, like playing Primal Surge is the thing for the deck. So like adding some cards to like make sure that you
Mhm.
can do the thing
Yeah.
is perfectly reasonable.
Honestly, I don't really like doing tutors as much as I thought I used to. I mean, Sisay is where I kind of get
Yeah,
my fill on tutor centric stuff, because it's baked into the command zone. But past that, like, I don't really run tutors if I can. Gitrog is the exception because it's a high powered near CDH
yeah,
list. But past that, it's like,
yeah. I was having this conversation on Brian Kibler's stream a couple days ago, actually, about tutors, and I found myself running less tutors like
Mhm.
outside of Primal Surge, but I
Mhm.
added Razaketh to Celebrity Deathmatch, but I
Mhm.
have no way to cheat it in, and I have no real fodder to
Mhm.
sacrifice to Razaketh to do the tutors. So the tutor comes at like an actual cost.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a line to be drawn there. And I know we're like getting off the rails and
Yeah.
everything like that, but I think like that's actually like a very interesting just a general
Mhm.
resolution for listeners out there. Like if you find yourself running a lot of like more tutors than you find yourself comfortable with, cut
Take him
them.
out.
Just cut them.
Yeah.
and see how you enjoy the deck. If you find yourself enjoying it less,
Mm-hmm.
add them back in, and like maybe find some. If you find yourself still not enjoying the deck, maybe there's
Mm-hmm.
like something else at the root of the problem. But for a lot of people, tutors lead to less enjoyment for playing their deck.
I'm glad you bring that up because I didn't write it down, but like I feel like that's something I want to do too is add less tutors, less fetches because I used to not run fetches.
I cut them entirely from all of my decks.
Yeah. I
Just
mean,
blanket. This is the best decision I've ever made.
Gitrog needs them. Gitrog needs them. Sisse, I feel like she needs them, but like largely I don't really like to run them anymore just because it increases game time, but it just feels less.
Yeah,
I would prefer more variables in my game, but that's just my
sure.
personal experience and my growth, as a player in my play style. It's just I don't really find joy in them anymore.
If you want more variance in your games, there are other ways to add variance to your deck.
Yeah.
Like my literal favorite card from this past year, Protection Racket.
Yes.
It's Sylvan Library, but extortion, but variance. Like adding
Mhm.
more cards like that to your 99, where you still get a net benefit, but there's a
Mhm.
variance to the benefit. I think like you can explore adding variance to your deck that way. If you don't want to cut the fetches or playing like 4 or 5 color and like your
Mhm.
mana is janky and you want the fixing, there's other ways
Mhm.
to do it. But I think either adding more variance to your deck or adding a different type of consistency to your deck
Mhm.
could be something for people to explore.
I mean,
Uh,
at worst, it's a deck building exercise.
yeah,
Genuinely.
absolutely. If you find yourself not enjoying it, there's no reason to explore it that much further. You gave it a try. All the different resolutions that like we've kind of brainstormed for ourselves are just give this a try.
Mhm.
If it happens to not work out or if it's something that you don't enjoy, well, at least you get to say, I tried this and I actually didn't end up enjoying it. So I'm going to go
Mhm.
back to like what I'm comfortable with or what I'm used to. We're
Mhm.
really just trying to get ourselves out of our comfort zone and trying to branch out essentially. We as Magic players, a lot of times we find ourselves getting stuck in our ways.
S- Speaking of getting stuck in your ways, you have one resolution written down that I am desperate to talk about, which is
What?
playing less green,
And you want to play more
more
green
green.
next year. So
Yeah,
we're going to
I do.
switch spots.
Yeah,
So
literally switch places.
maybe you don't build greenless Primal Surge. Maybe you like really lean into the green for Primal
Yeah,
Surge.
those two resolutions kind of attack each other a little bit.
Yeah, kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
I had this discussion actually last year when I was talking to some Magic friends about New Year's
Mhm.
resolutions. Um, and it was my thing about trying to play more blue, which we've kind of talked about. Like I have played more blue than I was before. Like literally before this year, I had pretty much never cast a blue spell ever
Yeah.
in like the 8 years that I've been playing Magic. And we kind of realized like maybe my problem with blue is I wasn't approaching blue from a perspective that I enjoyed,
Mhm.
which kind of led to playing Big Blue Stompy, like
Mhm.
playing cards like Clone Legion and
Yeah, well,
the new Jin Gitaxias that like doubles your spells and halves your opponent's spells and things like
yeah.
that. Like leaning into it that way. Like maybe you love big spells, you love planeswalkers. Like I don't know, maybe you look at like green super friends, or maybe you look at like big green spell slinger.
I mean, Garrett, I could do something with like I think it's Garrett Caller of Beasts. I think is the one where you
Yeah.
put green creatures from your. It lets you basically get green creatures into your hand, and then you can put them into
Hmm.
play for free with his
Yeah.
minus. I think it's -3 or
Yeah.
-2. That's a interesting choice. I could do.
There's also I know you're trying to play like less tutors and like less like hard searches and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
There's a Vivian that's a birthing pod. There's a Vivian that minuses that goes and finds a friend. I think it's Monsters
Hmm.
Advocate. There's a Vivian that lets you flash, like all your creatures have flash.
Yeah.
It really lets you play green like a blue deck,
Hmm.
like a flash deck, like a Simic deck that
Yeah.
you're like maybe a little bit more comfortable with. But at the same
I
time, I know we've had this discussion tons and tons and tons of times.
Yeah.
Like I've said, hey, run Flamebound Accomplice in your Chandra deck.
No, 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 no.
Flamebound Accomplice, like green Planeswalker decks,
Yeah.
gets absolutely absurdly so much fun though.
Yeah, I feel like in green, yeah.
So like maybe the green Planeswalkers was the missing link for you with Flamebound Accomplice.
It
And
could be.
it would still let you play a Chandra, so you can like hit that quota for yourself.
I suppose I think the reason why I feel so weird with it in Chandra is because like Chandra's value is kind of built incrementally. Like it's kind of a
Yeah,
big like you go do and then big explosion. Whereas in like most greens planeswalker decks, you're able to kind of do like a pretty impactful thing early on, like put a creature into play for free, get
yeah.
creatures off the top of your library. Chandra's a little less
Hmm.
explosive than that, like you would think.
It's just
So
explosive in a different way. Like it's more removal based or card advantage
yeah,
based
exactly. And I'm like, I don't want to.
rather than like creature advantage, like board tempo based.
Yeah. What's that Nick Jonas tweet where he's like, "I came out to have a good time, and honestly, I'm just feeling so attacked right now."
You're feeling attacked because you know it's true.
That's what I. Because here's the deal: if you weren't kind of resonating with me, I'd be like, "Oh, whatever, it's fine." But like, I'm like,
I've thought about this for like the
oh,
past 8 months. Okay, like
yeah.
I've been waiting for this moment to present this argument to you.
Listen, creatures are interesting. Actually, that does make sense considering on a stream recently, um, I was playing and one of my opponents was like, Chase doesn't attack. Wow. Surprising.
Just you don't have creatures to attack with.
I had creatures. I was just scared. I was scared to attack.
All
I'd be
right,
scared to attack unless I know I have a big win or a ton of damage on board and I have minimal loss.
I like now that you make me think about it, like
Mm-hmm.
I almost want to like are you a timid commander player?
I thought this was supposed to be New Year's resolutions, not attack Chase. Because yeah,
Hey,
I'm timid. I'm timid. Yes, I'm very timid.
and the funny thing is like you're a red mage.
Yeah.
Red is supposed to be the color of passion and aggression.
Yeah.
And you're like the least aggressive red mage I've ever met.
This red player has anxiety, okay?
Anxiety.
Anxiety. Put a little rainbow wing swing. But like here's the deal. Like I feel like I'm a very cautious player. I don't know, maybe
Sure.
timid, but I like to bide my time, when
Yeah.
I play. Like I like to make sure that I can assure myself that I'm not gonna have great losses, be
You
it a
you
dead
don't
spell or
overextend into the board wipe is what you're
that's a
saying.
that's a big thing for me. I don't like to overextend. I don't like to swing big and then suddenly I have like 10 creatures and I go down to 2. That
Yeah.
to me it feels like a loss and it's, discomfort. But I would say I'm a timid red mage if there ever was such a thing.
Says the person who was actively trying to find a fiery emancipation artist proof last night. True
I
story, by the
one
way.
of these days, I'm going to get one and it's going to be great. I will say,
That's a good New Year's resolution for you.
yeah.
Get more artist proofs. I'm
Yeah.
gonna get more. That's a New Year's resolution for me.
No, it wasn't because literally, as we were typing this, you wrote down "get less artist proofs" and then you deleted it. Don't.
Screw you. I realized that was so unrealistic that I changed my mind to get more.
Yeah, you went. What if I did the exact opposite of what I want?
If there was a passion project that I really wanted to like pursue more in the upcoming year, it's work on the artist proof deck that much
Oh yeah.
more, but prioritize sketches. For the longest time, I was really like, I was impatient, wanting to just like get artist proofs to get artist proofs, and like, oh, I can get a sketch later. No, get in line for those sketches. Exercise
Yeah.
some patience. Chase knows this very well. I'm coming to the end of an over 2-year wait for proofs from Anna Steinbauer.
Yeah.
And I've had this mantra of, hey, you waited 2 years. It didn't show up in the mail today. You can wait another day.
Yeah.
I can wait 6 months for an awesome, amazing painting from Elena Danner or something like that. Like,
And it low-key kills me that you were like, I waited 2 years to get this artist proof. Meanwhile, I get super lucky and just Tokyo drift into someone's DMs to get one within an hour from Anna
from the
Steinbauer.
same order, like leftover or abandoned from that 2.5-year wait.
Yeah.
But like, besides the point, like my To like actually put a positive spin on this resolution, my resolution is going to be to go out of my way to support more artists any
Mhm.
way I can, and support more altruists the way I
Yes.
can, and like support people in our community that make our game as great as it is.
Yeah.
Like more than just like the game itself. There's way more going on than the
Mhm.
game itself.
Yeah, and it really does, like, I cannot stress enough how it does go, because your money goes directly to that artist, like,
Exactly.
directly, and it took me a while to realize that, because you're the one who got me into the concept of artist proofs, and, like,
I take
you
partial responsibility,
and you
but like
gently
most of it.
bullied me last night. You gently bullied me last night into
No, I
buying.
talked you down. I talked you down. Don't frame this. Don't paint me as the bully, as the enemy here. I talked you out of spending an extra like $180
Yeah, because
or more.
I was originally gonna get we were shopping for artist proofs while on the phone, and I was like, "Ooh, I should get this like gouache painted 225." And then you're like, "No, no, 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 no. Do watercolor at like 125." And I was like, "Okay, I'll do that." And then you were like, "Or you could go to this completely different artist and get this super cool ink sketch for like 65 or $70." And I went, "You got me."
It wasn't even a card that you play that often. Like it happens to be in Chandra,
It happens in your genre, yeah.
but I've literally never seen you cast Teralf
I've
before.
casted a few times. I just never get him out when I need to.
Not when we've played, at least.
Yeah, there's like 12. Okay, don't come for me, but there's 12
There's
creatures in
12.
Chandra.
Do you see my point from like 15 minutes ago?
There's like 12 creatures in Chandra, but that's just because there's so many planeswalkers.
Yeah, you have 28 planeswalkers in that deck or something ridiculous at this point.
And I do it again.
You're calling me out for playing like 67 creatures in Primal Surge?
Yeah. Sorry, I correct myself. There's 13 creatures in Chandra, and there's 18 planeswalkers.
That's
Balanced.
I feel validated right now. Okay, like
I feel like this has turned into
you have proven my
self-discovery.
point for me.
I think I have. That's scary.
But like that's part of like realizing New Year's resolutions and like attainable New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times, like you hear about I'm gonna hit the gym every single week, 3 times a week,
Yeah.
and like you're good for like 3 weeks, and you just abandon all hope. Like I feel like so many New Year's resolutions are like that. So I feel like any Magic resolution that I make, I need to be realistic about. And I
Yeah.
feel like we've both made some like realistic resolutions, some more than others. Like you'll go from like 13 creatures into in a deck to 18 creatures, but like that's still like almost
That's a
a
big
50%
step.
increase. Yeah,
That's the
that's
biggest
huge.
step.
But so like that's a 50% increase in creatures for your deck, but that's a 5% increase in creatures for your 99.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like also, like, as Magic players, a lot of the times we see like New Year's resolutions be like play with X person, or like
Yeah.
get like a certain threshold. I don't know. Like I used to be the person who would be like, "Oh, I really want to collaborate with this person. I really want to do like this kind of content, or I want to post this
Yeah.
much on this platform." But I don't know. I feel like focusing more on the actual game for myself, for my resolutions, because like if you have those kinds of resolutions, good, dope. For me, it feels a little like, I don't know. I want to have resolutions that impact my experience within the game like a
Yeah.
little bit more, cuz like I used to just be like, well, I'm kind of set in my ways. But like I used to not really play red. The first deck I ever picked up was mono black. I was like, I'm a mono black player. I don't touch black now, like ever.
Which is funny because the first deck that was ever recommended to you was Is It.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Like you were literally like handed Is It as your entry point to the format.
Firemind, Niv Firemind, and now I have a Locust
Yeah.
God deck. Like, what the
Yeah.
heck? It's
Yeah.
weird.
And so like for the longest time, like I watch a ton of CEDH content,
Yes.
but I don't play a ton of like prim and proper like decklist data based CEDH, and I
Mhm.
want to try and play a little bit more of that this
Yeah.
upcoming year. Like I've already picked out a deck. Like Rebel is basically like given me a deck on a silver platter
Mhm.
because Wild Pile unironically plays one of my favorite Boros commanders of all time, Adriana, Captain of the Guard.
Yeah.
And like Wild Pile plays the big stompy, like more casual creatures that I enjoy, like Coma, like Adriana, and um, I think that's about it. Like otherwise, it's blue cards and
Yeah.
Thrasios Pasios at that point.
Yeah.
But like I want to find a way to play CEDH that's like my speed so that I can engage with that sect of the format that I don't engage with on like a personal level as much as I
Mhm.
do.
I don't really do jank. I don't really do CDH either. And I had attempted to do CDH. That was one thing I did want to do. It was for last year, I remember. But the stream that I guested on was before Gitrog was kind of where he is at now. And
Sure.
I did what's the Godo? Godo.
Yeah.
I did
That's
Godo.
I've my understanding and like my experiences like that is a very well documented good entry point for a lot of
Yes.
players.
And it was good, and I was able to do a cool thing. I didn't win, but like it was because of that and me attempting to branch out into something that was
Hmm.
unknown to me that I found out I didn't like it, which is
Yeah.
normal and good. Like just because a resolution doesn't turn out the way you want to doesn't mean you didn't learn something or you
Yeah,
didn't achieve
exactly.
something, which is also a good spin to put on it.
If you're able to say, "Yeah, I didn't enjoy it, but I tried it," like that's huge. That's massive. I don't know if I'm gonna like vibe with CEDH itself, but I vibe with the people that
Yeah.
play it, and I think that's a
Yeah.
big thing for me. Like if I enjoy my time spending time with the people that play it, then I'm gonna find a way to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And like there's no one that I love spending time with more than people like Rebel or Cal, Surreal, the Snoop Thar guy, and
Mhm.
I've met people going to events. Ian's been fantastic, like a absolutely lovely person.
Mhm.
Ian's the Winota originator. He's like just been at super spike at all these different events. They are like literally wonderful people, and I have loved sharing meals with them.
Mhm.
But I've never played Commander with them.
Yeah.
I've never played CEDH with them. I would love, and this is not me saying like I want to collaborate with them. I just like I want to play the part of the format that they enjoy because I enjoy spending time with them, and I think it would be a
Mhm.
fun excuse to kind of share an experience and like kind of understand more where they're coming from with the worldview of the format, with the philosophy of the format and stuff like that. I think that's something that like we both have expressed interest in is like being more macro thinkers
Mhm.
of the format. I've been more focused on my experience the
Mhm.
past year, especially as like I invest more time into it. I want to be more cognizant of other people.
Yeah. There's many multiple ways to play the game that we play in the format that we play because we're really privileged to have that kind of experience where there's so many different and unique
Hmm.
ways to do things and people to play with and like and this is something I've been trying to hammer home in general, especially on Twitter. Like I've talked about it a lot on Twitter, but like Twitter is such a small fraction of a microcosm of the entirety of
Yeah. Oh,
Magic, of
absolutely.
Commander. It's just a sliver of a fraction of a percent. And I feel like there's so much more for us to be open to an experience when it comes to Magic, but I think we get so kind of set in our ways and our experiences and our comfort zones too with the game. Like me with like my color preferences and my card type preferences
I'm
and stuff.
guilty of the same thing as well. So
Yeah.
like,
There's
it's just
room
it's how it
for
is.
change. There's room for
Yeah.
change. So I think exploring that kind, because again, like if you love CDH, dope. If you don't like it, that's also cool because you would not have known that had you not tried it.
I already kind of like engage with CEDH. Like I have like pushed my Primal Surge deck to the almost limit of where it could go as a CEDH deck. Like I still don't play like Mox Diamond and Mana
Yeah.
Crypt and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But all the relevant hate bears and hate pieces and stacks pieces and hardcore tutor effects like Sisse and Yisan. I'm playing all of that kind of stuff in the
Mhm.
current iteration of it. Like it can hang with a CDH table, and it's not going to win every time, but like the expected win rate of a commander
Mhm.
game is only 25% in the first place. Like if you're only winning
Mhm.
20% of the time, like you're realistically speaking like still on par for the course.
Yeah.
Like
I don't
you
know.
don't have to expect to win very often with commander. And I think that's like a good general resolution. I know like
Mhm.
someone does have to win a commander game, but I think this is something that I always tell myself to get better at every year. And it's just
Mhm.
like be okay, be more okay with a deck misfiring or just
Yeah.
not having the answer for something,
Yeah.
not coming up with a win, or being more okay with coming up short with something.
Um
Just being generally more accepting of whatever happens.
yeah.
Like you don't have to go out of your way to like always have the thing like it's okay to hold back.
I'm really glad that you said that because that's something that I feel like I've worked on a lot and have experienced a great change in myself. But it's a resolution that I've written down because I want to continue to do it. I feel like
Yeah,
maintenance is a high
that's
key,
where
a
I'm at
big
too.
thing. Like be less salty, and I know like that's like with the slang and everything like that. It sounds very intense, but like I've done this on stream where like I'll make a very fatal misplay, but I keep the misplay because
Yeah,
how can I learn?
we talked about this last week where
Yeah,
like there are times to run back a mistake, there are times to accept your mistake.
yeah,
When your mistake is detrimental to your game plan or
mhm,
detrimental to a win condition, we're probably not going to walk it back
yeah.
as a way to hammer home the lesson.
Like on my stream tonight, I cast a blood money because I was gonna get a bunch of treasure tokens. I was playing my Citrus treasure deck, and I did not pay attention to one of my opponent's boards. I was paying attention to 2 out of 3 of my opponents. Fatal mistake there because one of my opponents had double death triggers with aristocrats
Ooh.
out. So we ended up losing 14 life, and Doodles went up to 52 life. And I did get treasures. I got 11 treasures. 11 treasures is not worth 14 life.
Well, especially when you're at 15 life, if I remember correctly, to start with.
No, I was at like 20 something and I went down to like 12. It was
Uh,
really bad. It was really
what
bad.
what did it cost?
Everything.
Everything.
It
Yeah.
did. But like maintaining those really bad plays because you want to learn something, or like
Yeah.
if you lose, like being okay with losing is something that has taken me a while to get to, but I'm at a place where I enjoy it because I would rather have a crazy fun story than like a moment where I make people feel uncomfortable, feel bad because I lost. And like that's something that is it takes a while to learn.
There's two best case scenarios to look at it.
Mhm.
Scenario one, you lose and you learn something, and you have like you made a misplay and you're like, oh, I'm not going to do that next time. Number two, you lose in a way that you've never ever seen before,
Yeah,
and like those are the moments that I live for.
I do too.
I I love losing in a way that I have never lost before
Mhm.
more than I love winning,
Mhm.
and even winning in a way that I've never won before.
This might be a super dumb thing for me to say, quite genuinely. But you know what we're gonna do, EK?
Yeah.
We're gonna practice confidence, baby. It's not a stupid thing to say. It
We
is not.
you mean the exercise that we went through for like 4 hours last night?
I
100% agree.
I feel like we forget that Magic is a game.
Yeah. Oh,
In general, I feel
100%.
like a lot of people in the community too, even people who like play Magic for content like us, or who do it just for funsies. I feel like we do forget that it's a game. And you're probably like, Chase, it's TCG, trading card game. It's in the name. Totally fair statement. But like I feel like our the more that we kind of get ingrained in things, we tend to lose sight of the concept that it is a game, even though there's a goal of victory and there's a process to it of deck building and stuff. Because here's the deal, I don't view Magic the same way that I would view I don't know, Catan, or like Werewolf, or
Mhm.
any of the other board games that exist that I can't think of right now. Like not like chess or stuff, but like board games. I don't view them as the same in my head, but they're games meant for enjoyment, but there's a disconnect there.
The social contract of Commander is less focused on the end result and more focused on how you get there.
Mhm.
Whereas the social contract of Catan or Scrabble or Monopoly is to be at each other's throats and
Mhm.
like get the longest road or all of those sheep and goats or however you play Catan. Like
I've never played it. I don't know.
you're there for blood. Like you're
Yeah.
in it to win it.
Yeah, give me those sheep.
Whereas like Commander, the intention is to just vibe with your
Mhm.
friends for 90
Yeah.
minutes. I don't know if I've necessarily lost sight on
Mhm.
over the last year, but I've definitely found myself getting caught up in the heat of the moment more than I thought I
Mhm.
would.
Yes.
Where it's
Yes,
just
yes, yes.
like I have this. I have this if I want it. Do you actually pull the trigger and do it though?
Yeah. I've talked about that too on this podcast of like just cuz there are things that your deck can do doesn't mean you have to do them. Your
Yeah.
deck is
I'm a
definitely not a
huge
sentient
proponent
being.
in that.
Like you can hold it back. Like that's why I really like my Elminster deck is that at a glance the list is very terrifying because there's pieces in there like dig through time and like expropriate and all that jazz. But I can play that deck one of two ways. I can go super super chill and vibe and get a bunch of tokens, or I could go hardcore and reduce the cast of an expropriate from what like 9 mana to 2 blue
Yeah.
pips.
Yeah,
Like I
sounds
could do
about right.
either or. It depends on how I pilot it, and that's something, like piloting the game, play like kind of tailoring your deck to the table. Because
Mhm.
sometimes power levels might not match up, but you can still make your deck match up to that experience. And that is something that we
Yep.
have both talked about a lot and have learned.
That's literally the point of Nijiless Celebrity Deathmatch.
Yeah.
It's let's play Havoc Festival, let's play Crescendo of War, and let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
It meaningfully moves the game along, even if it's at the detriment to my own game plan.
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, we're going to have a memorable story and something ridiculous to talk about.
Yeah.
Even if it's just that like that moment
Hmm.
of that's a Havoc Festival. My life gain deck doesn't work anymore, and
Hmm.
my life total is not going to get any higher than like 145. That's just how it is. You drop the Havoc Festival, and you're at 20 life, and you're like, I got 2 turns. This
Hmm.
game has 2 turns. We're gonna see what happens. If
Yeah.
I lose, I lose. If I don't, it's going to be ridiculous and fantastic. And even the people on the receiving end of it are still going to have a fun time.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important to keep in mind that even though someone has to win a
Hmm.
game, someone still has to lose the game.
Hmm.
And you still want them to enjoy themselves. You still want them to have
Exactly.
a good time. I think
Yeah.
that's so important. And the majority of players at a commander table are going to lose the game.
Mm.
So keeping that in mind is incredibly important. And that's
Hmm.
just like a general like kind of reminder.
Hmm.
Like even if it's not necessarily on my New Year's resolution list, it's just it's still going to be a resolution of keep your opponents in mind when you're A building your deck, but B when
uh
you're playing your deck. I think that's so important.
I think so too, because I've seen a lot of talks where, and I've noticed this a lot, and it's so difficult, especially when you're trying to convey tone. Because I've been talking on Twitter about like, making people aware of certain things that are in your deck, the concept
Mhm.
of like, how much information do I reveal if it's too much information? And like, a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to do that. Like, that's an okay thing too. And I totally get it. But like, it's not like, oh, you're being told to like reveal every single piece of
Yeah,
information,
you
or
don't
you're
have to
being
give your
asked
opponent a
to.
life story.
Yeah, and you're not being asked to toy with your food. I've had some people be like, "Well, do you want me to play with my food?" No,
No,
that's not the
finish it.
vibe. Definitely not.
Finish it.
Like if you have the win, you should do it. And I've had experiences on stream where people are like, "Well, oh, I don't want to do that," but like at the same time, game has to end sometime. You can play another game. It's just
Yeah.
it's such a fine line that I find very interesting when we talk about this because like, you don't want to make people feel like they've wasted their time one way or the other.
Yeah.
It's just a fascinating conversation. Keeping your opponents in mind is so important because um, you want to be able to play with people again. Like at the end of the day, that's what it is.
I correct me if I'm wrong. I literally cannot remember if this is a Sheldon quote or if it's a Scott quote.
Yeah.
For all I know, it could be a Toby or a Stibbs quote. The whole idea is to want to play another game.
Hmm.
If everyone's on the same page and that game happens to end quickly,
Hmm.
if you still want to play another game, it means that first game was still successful, even if
Hmm.
it only lasted like 35 to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
If you want to shuffle up and go again, it means you did it right.
It's just so weird that I don't know. It's just so weird because it's a game and we're talking
Yeah.
about a game, but like it's just the weird analysis of it because we went. I don't think we would be talking about like Monopoly like this.
Yeah,
It's
like
so fascinating to me.
we're gonna have to do at some point. I'm gonna like make you do a game theory and
I'm
uh,
so happy you
like
said
like
this.
like like a social psychology episode
You read my mind
about Magic and
because
Commander in particular.
well, I think our next episode should be called like the anatomy of the game. I think that'd be so
Yeah,
cool. Yeah.
you legitimately have a master's in social work. I almost have a bachelor's in sociology with an emphasis on strategic interaction, which
Hmm.
is basically the sociology of game theory. I think that would be like the most fascinating thing. So if you're listening right now, let us know if that's something that you like actually want to hear,
Yeah.
because it's something we absolutely would love to do. I feel
New Year's
like.
resolution. Do that episode.
I mean, at the rate we're going, it's going to come out before the New Year, so it's not even a New Year's resolution. That's just a to-do list.
There we go. I like it. I live, laugh, love it.
I live, laugh, lightning bolt it, but that's just me.
Okay, well, it's not a competition, so
Wow, that escalated quickly.
sorry. It's my New Year's resolution to to be to be a little bit more on my toes.
We've been really hot and heavy with like
Mhm.
all of our resolutions. Do you have like a more lighthearted or like just like an easygoing resolution that you're gonna attempt to hold yourself to
Yeah,
as we like kind of finish up?
yeah. I got two. They're very
Yeah,
chill, very easy. Number
yeah,
one is build more older commanders on stream. I feel like a lot of them don't get a lot of love, and we're so focused on the rush and the thrill of previous season and new things that things kind of fall by the wayside. Like even Kadric is a new commander, but people were like, "What's that?" They didn't notice it. But I really want to do old stuff. I think it'd be fun to like take a blast from the past. Like Cedrus is an older commander. I think it's from Shards of Alara,
yeah.
and he's pretty old, and I was still able to do something new with him, i.e., treasures. So definitely that. And my other one is to um, buy less secret layers because I don't need every secret layer, and I'm doing it
That
already.
Sisay deck needs options.
Here's the deal, though. I'm taking a page out of Prof's book. I'm buying singles because there have been a couple layers in the past where I'm like, I like two of the cards. Let me buy the whole thing, and I'm like, I have a binder dedicated to secret layer singles. That's how many I have.
So
That's a little
would you
ridiculous.
sell off those singles, or you gonna still hold on to them?
But I like to look at them. I like looking at them, but I should buy less of them. But for the ones I have now, I'm just gonna keep them.
That I see the little ooh woo. I'm gonna keep them
Yeah,
as
Chase
a
can
treat.
have secret layer singles as a treat.
Okay. It's funny you say like build more old commanders
Mm.
because the boomer in me made a resolution to build more newer commanders. So I've always been the type of brewer. I build old commanders that you expect one thing, and then I build it in a completely different way that you didn't know it was possible. Like Saskia
Mhm.
Storm or
Yeah.
Najila wrestling Vorthos tribal, like that whole kind of thing. I'm gonna try and build more new commanders. Like I've built a couple new commanders during preview season for content, and
Mhm.
I like sort of vibed with it, but I felt more at home building like 4-year-old commanders that were like
Mhm.
overlooked or just kind of underappreciated.
Yeah.
So like I've already kind of started this. I built a Morel deck the other day
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
was like I mean it's mono white soldiers like There's nothing groundbreaking with it, but like I built a new commander that has come out this decade. I did build Jetmir a
Yeah.
couple months ago, but I
You
built
did.
Jetmir in a very like 2016 sort of way with cards from 1998.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm over here trying to make use of some of the the secret lair singles I have, and I have this Glissa Sunseeker that I'm like, I can do something with this. I'm like, I can toss
Yeah,
like a liquid metal coating and a liquid metal torque in here, and I can do some damage.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's old, but the art is pretty and new. Therefore, I don't hate it. New year, new me, baby.
My other like kind of petty and like theoretically easy New Year's resolution
Yeah.
is to like practice what I preach and like super aggressively Marie Kondo my decks. Like I've been doing the burn it down sort of thing, a
Mhm.
la Dan and his amazing video essay that I'll probably put in the comment section so that you guys
Mhm.
can listen to it. It's literally life changing. And I do it every year. I like take apart all of my decks and I rebuild them, but I just end up rebuilding them back to where they were.
Mhm.
I actually mean this. Like the Tiamat deck that I've been staring at for like 4 months and I've played once.
Mhm.
Take that thing apart. Finally take that thing apart and
Mhm.
like do something with those cards because there's like good cards in there. Like even if it just becomes a different kind of dragon deck, like I've maybe thought about turning it into a dragon storm deck, which would fundamentally change how the deck works, and
Mhm.
I'd change the commander. That's at least something that I'm more compelled to pick up and play. Like basically, this is a call to action. That deck that's been sitting on your shelf for like 2 months, 3 months
Okay.
that you've played
Listen.
once, just
Listen
take it
now.
apart. Just
Listen
take it
now.
apart.
You have to stop attacking me. I'm tired. All right. I've been through a lot this hour long.
This is an attack on you. This is an attack on like 90% of commander players.
Okay.
Everyone
Well.
has that deck. Do what I'm doing and just take it apart.
Mhm.
Put the foil lands that you've been keeping in that deck in the decks that you actually do play. Put the
Mhm.
bling in that deck into the other decks that you actually do play.
Mhm.
Take it apart, reassemble it as a deck that you might actually find compelling.
Mhm.
Take away a color from it, add a color to it, just switch it up in a way that you actually feel compelled to want to pick it up and play it. Because doing nothing, just sitting on your shelf.
Or you can even give yourself just a weird theme and see if you can do it. That's how
Yeah,
Sisei was born.
yeah.
Was I had a binder and a dream and a feeling of defeat because I'd spent so much money. I
On
was like, I
secret
need to
layers.
I was like, I need to do something with this. And I did, and now it's one of my more fun decks, and I really do enjoy it a lot. But like, giving yourself a restriction or like, encouraging yourself to like take something apart and see if you can put it back together again in a new and interesting way is very interesting because I feel like we get comfortable in our decks and we forget
Oh
that there's
yeah,
some things
gosh
like
yeah.
there's Curiosity Crafter. I forgot that was a new card, and I'm like, oh, I could put that in Locust God. And now I'm just staring at my list, going, what do I take out? It just, I don't know. It's different, but it's not.
All right, I'm gonna leave you with one final off the cuff question, and I'm gonna answer
Mhm.
this around the same time that you do.
Okay.
So you said that you wanted to build an old commander.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned Glissa, but I,
Yeah.
I, I don't feel like I'm convinced that Glissa is going to be that first commander that you build.
Yeah.
So what's that first old commander that you're going to try and build? And I'll tell you what that first new commander that I'm going to try and build is going to be.
Oh my God. Got it. Got it.
What
Okay.
is it? What do you got?
Um, it's green, so you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
Autumn Willow.
Who? What?
Autumn
What do
Willow
they do?
from Notorious Set Homelands. Um, she's 4 and 2 green with Shroud, and I can tap a green until end of turn. She can be the target of spells and abilities controlled by target player as though it didn't have Shroud.
Okay. Okay.
I think she's weird and she's old, like old, old.
I have my old what if commander, and that's his Azen Tamar. So like I get it. Like
Yeah,
that era of legendary creatures is just something.
yeah.
So I get it. I support you. I love that
Mhm.
journey for you.
I've gotten older though, and I actually have wanted to build it,
Yeah.
and I have a list, and I think it doesn't suck.
Yeah.
Skeleton ship.
Oh, I remember that deck
Yeah,
building stream that you did. And you
yeah,
built it. You liked that deck and
I
you were
did,
like
and guess
you
what?
were getting cards for it.
I like the skeleton ship because there's a pirate riding a turtle on it. And I just think that's neat.
I'm here for it. That's a vibe.
What about you?
I think my new commander that has come out since 2020 that I'm gonna build is, oh god, this is tough. What should I do? Like, what do you think I would like?
You should do burn. Do burn. That feels very out of your wheelhouse.
Big burn,
Burn.
because I did Rem Corollas for a hot minute, and that lasted like a month. You know what? I bet you there's going to be a really like, because of like March of the Machines and this Return to Phyrexia, we're going to see a lot of our favorite characters from other planes. And like honestly, I think the reason why I am gravitating towards older commanders is because I absolutely adore like old Ravnica. I absolutely adore Tarkir. I absolutely adore like Alara and stuff like that. So like we haven't been back there, but because of March of the Machines, we're like maybe gonna see a lot of these characters come back. This New Year's resolution of mine isn't gonna be solvable until March of the Machines.
Mhm.
Because of the nature of that set, like this whole Avengers Assemble, but it's the creatures of the multiverse rather than the planeswalkers of the multiverse. I
Uh-huh.
feel like there's gonna be something that stands out
I
from this year that I'm gonna want to build.
I just thought of a deck theme for you to build around after March of
Yeah.
the Machines. Canon Dead in Lore Tribal.
Oh my. No.
Gideon, whoever dies
Venser.
in Phyrexia, yeah, Venser, that that would be pretty great. Johnny, Tomio, pop
Uh,
them in there.
Johnny and Tomio aren't dead though; they're just completed.
Okay, well, I mean, in the zombie apocalypse, if someone's bitten by a zombie and they turn into a zombie, they're technically dead. And on that chipper note,
Thanks for listening to the show this week.
yeah. Have you ever had someone make eye contact with you nonstop while they did their outro? Well, that's what it feels like to drive a Ford F-150. My name is Chase, also known as Manicurves, and I'm a Commander content creator. You can find me everywhere at Manicurves, where I stream. I stream on Twitch, where I do paper Commander gameplay and deck building, and I write articles for Star City Games.
And I'm Eddie K. Plays cards on all of the things. I work behind the scenes with all of your favorite content creators like Shivan Bot and the Casual Magic Podcast, and Ailey and Olivia and Elder Dragon Hijinks. So if you're supporting them, you're supporting me at the same time, and I really appreciate it. You can find this show on all of your favorite podcast platforms like Anchor FM, Spotify, all that kind of stuff, Apple Podcasts, and you can also find the show on YouTube, which you're probably watching at this point. And if you're still listening and watching at this point, it's not too much to ask for you to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment, all that kind of stuff. It helps us defeat the evil algorithm overlords and help us assert dominance and achieve world domination.